Hello folks, so in this video we're going to look at control groups, which is a feature of Linux, and we're going to be looking at control group v2 version 2. So basically recently in my company we noticed that we are running on AWS, Amazon Web Services. We are running on top of Kubernetes using AWS EKS Elastic Kubernetes Service. So the nodes, the machines that we run, the virtual machines, are running an operating system, which is the Amazon Linux. We're currently running, I think, Amazon Linux 2, and we're trying to upgrade that to Amazon Linux 3, which is Amazon Linux 2023. So that's what is AL3 or Amazon Linux 3, AL3. So if you look at 1 minute. You can actually check out that what is Amazon Linux and all that. It's a Linux distribution provided by Amazon. I think it's free. I'm not sure. So the idea is we want to actually upgrade to Amazon Linux 2023, which is Amazon Linux 3. And on doing that, we noticed that Amazon Linux 3 by default supports control groups v2. Control groups is a feature in Linux kernel, and it has some versioning. So there is v1, there is v2. v2 is the latest, of course. And the thing is, currently we are running Amazon Linux 3, but with control group v1 enabled, and by disabling the default control group v2. And we want to actually support control group v2, so version 2. And because of that, we noticed that our softwares, like our language runtimes, for example, say Java, the versions of Java that we are running, the versions of, say, Golang that we've used, they don't support control group v2. So I want to understand what that means, because we're going to be doing this upgrade, so we have to create a plan. So I'm writing down the questions to answer and the things to do. Experiments, I'll write down some stuff like can we run older versions of Linux kernel on a macOS machine using virtualization, for example using Lima, because Lima is basically a Linux machine thing. Yeah, this is what we're looking at. So Linux machines. So I'm just saying this and this Linux machines, right? So I'll check that out. Can we run Amazon Linux on a macOS machine, for example, that to M4 ARM64, right? So on again macOS machine, same thing, because I want to run this using virtualization. Virtualization. Again, for example, using these. And also you need to check out Amazon Linux is available on GitHub. So I think there's also Docker Hub. So probably look at this. Check this. Check this also, right? So yeah, okay, so check this. Learn about Amazon Linux 3, that is Amazon Linux 2023. Oops. Yeah. So the first things would be just this. There's also end of life and stuff that you can check out. And there is this. What is Amazon Nux 3 and all that? I think there's so it ends in 8 months. So basically, this support ends soon, and for basically Elastic Kubernetes Service, they're ending the support too soon for AL2. So yeah, and so we want to actually be able to support newer Elastic Kubernetes Service versions, and those will support only AL 2023, Amazon Linux 2023. Or else we'll have to build our own virtual machine images which has Amazon Linux 2 and has Kubernetes, the newer versions, instead of using the Elastic Kubernetes Service provided official Amazon machine images or virtual machine images basically. So just a minute. So this, I think that is Amazon Max 2023, I think. So I think we have enough links now, and this is a comparison. Cool. So experiments find out if and how Golang supports basically cgroup v1, v2, Java, Node.js. So I want to understand as well what it means. So yeah, basically the thing is, in our case, we have a lot of upgrades to do according to my colleagues. For example, we are using some versions of Java that don't have control group v2 support, right? So I want to understand what that means. So I've written that down. So support. So so basically C group or control group is a feature that's used by the container runtime. So currently I think we are using containerd, I'm not sure. In my local we usually use Docker and all. Just a minute. Stay in the call. So I need to understand what does it mean when you run your software inside the container, and if it does not support cgroup v1, cgroup v2, what does it even mean? So just a minute. So basically the plan that my colleagues made is this. They said first of all, get the application runtime information. For example, all the applications and infrastructure runtimes, for example, say Java, Node.js, Golang, whatever we are running, the runtimes, and identify which versions of those runtimes are compatible or incompatible with cgroup version 2. Establish the baseline and all. So Java application upgrade, Node.js application upgrade, Golang application upgrade, and then infrastructure components like, say, we have Elasticsearch, some versions, older versions of Elasticsearch, Zookeeper and all running. So we might have to check how we can support those two, because apparently Elasticsearch, for example, say looking at this, weirdly Elasticsearch doesn't seem to support like some versions of Java, I think. Let me see. Java. Oh, it doesn't talk about Java support here. Product and JVM, okay. This is for Java. So if you look at it, I have to check which version of Elasticsearch we are running, but we are running versions which don't have support for newer Java versions, I think. So Temurin 25, 22, 21, 14, 1.8, So if you look at it, only the newer versions of Elasticsearch, Elasticsearch don't even support. In between, there are some versions that support 1.8, like Java 8, Java 9, none. None of them support Java 9. Weird. There's only one of them. I wonder why that is the case, because ideally, if Java 8 it supports, it should work on Java 9, Java 10. Like Java API doesn't break like in newer versions of Java. So looks like there's even Kubernetes distribution like compatibility and all. So this is for the operating system. I think for Amazon Linux they probably have something. Amazon Linux. So here you can actually see that there are two versions. Two audit beat. I don't know what is audit beat. I think it's probably okay for different stuff. So there are different um, softwares by Elasticsearch is the most popular one, and the open source thing is called OpenSearch, and they have file beat, metric beat, beats basically, Elastic Agent, Elastic Defend, Endgame Sensor, APM Server, and then Elastic Connectors, Enterprise Search, App Search. So they have a lot of these. So for Elasticsearch alone, we have to see. So Amazon Linux 2023, if you see, only some have support. For example, Elasticsearch 7.17 has support. Just a minute. Yeah. So this is the fourth last one. So Elasticsearch 7.17 has support over here, and then so all these have support. So it is 8.11 to everything, right? So it's the fourth last, this one. So it's weird, because I'm wondering what is the problem with the support with other, like where does it break? Same for JVM, because if it supports Java, ideally should have supported Java 9 also. Like these should have supported Java 9 also. Weirdly, these are not supported by Java 8 itself. Okay, I understand. Weirdly, they're supported only by Java 17. I'm guessing they're using only they're using features of Java 17 and also probably that's why. And they're not, like they're using some features of Java 17 and hence need it. But it's weird that maybe they mean that they're using some features of, okay, they're using features of Java 17 and that's why they can't run with Java 8, I guess. But if they work with Java 8, why won't they work with Java 9 is the question I have, right? So if they work with Java 8, which is a lower version and it has all the features that you need, then it should work with Java 9 also, because it also has all the versions that Java 8 has, all the features, and it should work, and it has more features also probably, so because it's Java 9, so new extra features. So let me look into that. Java 8 to Java 9 upgrade, simply just checking. Breaking changes. Let's look at the breaking changes for in the move to Java 9. They broke Java's customary backward compatibility and left behind a lot of people. Oh, okay, doesn't help that there's no interesting. Oops, so this is for some login. Okay. Parent. What's this? Java 17, Java 9. Now common for software to require a certain old Java version. Wasn't the whole write once run earlier promise about backward compatibility too? Looks like in Java 9 they broke customary backward compatibility and left behind learn that there is no good, clear and complete guide on how to upgrade soap clients. This recently and learned that because Jakarta uses multi-release jars, do the regular dependency changes and also change their fat jar based build a release to. So this is in 2021. Seem to be leaving this ecosystem. In by the changing of the version string to remove one dot prefix, the removal of a handful of methods hardly anyone had used. In other words, the changes of spec compliant are ran on feeling on a slim. Happened was that in the long 8 time frame, many libraries of various reasons, some reasonable, have circumvented the Java spec and hacked into JDK internals, making themselves tightly coupled to J8. And internal classes changed in 9. Those non-portable libraries broke, and so did their clients. Now that strong implementation is finally turned on as of this shouldn't happen again. Okay, there are some reasons to signal, but those comprise separating modules from JDK into external dependencies. Interesting. So looks like there is some issue with upgrades because 1.8 versus 9, and I think we are using a lot of older versions. I remember seeing Java 11. Let me get that list around. And yeah, I've been reading what is control groups and everything, and let me get some more references to links and some more references to the different versions of Java that we are running without the name of the application because that doesn't matter. I'll get that list, it's in a sheet, and then I'll share that to understand what we need to work with. But yeah, I mean, if you're talking about language runtime supporting control group, let me see, Java C group v2. Let's say I just do this C group v2 and Java 8. So to feature C group, okay, so looks like you can find out this version. Basically they spoke about 8U372. I think the U is supposed to mean update, I'm not sure. 8U372. What is the U in 8U372? Update, yeah. So it refers to update. Update indicates the specific builder update number. Cool. So yeah, so this is actually the, I think the Jira, I think of of JDK, Open JDK, and they basically provided the C groups v2 support, container awareness, runtime support for JVMs. Okay. So basically here we need to understand what is this, right? Is this needed at compile time or runtime? I think this is mainly about runtime. I'm not sure compile time, how does it help? Maybe it might be required even in compile time, but surely in runtime because that's where it's running. And I'm guessing it will require some awareness that it's a container, but I need to understand why does it need this awareness. And I thought containers were supposed to actually just work. The process doesn't need to know that it's containerized, but in this case seems like it. So it says containers, JDK 11, fixed requests and all. Okay. So it says added hotspot runtime support for JVMs running in Docker containers. Okay. So support, I don't know what that means. Support for JVMs. Okay. So Java Virtual Machines, which is the Java runtime environment, or JRE, the runtime basically. In Docker containers. At the time, Docker used cgroups v1, and hence runtime support only includes cgroup v1 controllers. So we need to understand what these cgroup v1 controllers are. I thought the process that is running inside the container doesn't need to know about all this, but looks like it needs some awareness and has some support for controllers. Controllers are something that control stuff. In this case, control groups, like for example, I think CPU memory and all. Let's check it out. So this enhancement will extend functionality of it to also detect cgroups v2. So we need to look at this also. That is, if and only if cgroups v2 unified hierarchy is available only, use cgroups v2 backend. Otherwise, fall back to existing cgroups v1 container support. Okay, and I think C groups V1 and C group V2 support can coexist. I don't think you have to like have only one at a time. From what I've read, they both can coexist. So V1 coexistence on a system with V2, V1 can still be mounted and given access to controllers not in use by V2. So, but the problem is, I think, it can be given access to controllers. So V1 can be given access to controllers. I don't know what that means. I need to learn. Not in use by V2. However, a modern system typically already places all controllers in use in V1, in V2. So there is no controller available for V1 at all, even if a hierarchy is created. It is possible to clear all the uses of a controller from V2 and hand it to V1, but moving controllers between hierarchies after the system is up and running is cumbersome and not recommended. Okay. We need to check what that means also. So coexistence is going to be tricky. So I need to check how this even detects that, um, only if this is available, the unified hierarchy. I think this is about um, how the process hierarchy and all is there. I think I checked out in my local by running a Linux machine and checking out what these people were talking about when it comes to C groups. Like for example, this directory where there is sys/fs, which is the system file system, sysfs, the default location, and then in that C group. So it's a pseudo file system provided by the Linux kernel that exports information about various kernel subsystems, hardware devices, and associated device drivers from the kernel's device model to user space through virtual files. In addition to providing information about various devices and kernel subsystems, export virtual files are also used for further configuration. So these are virtual files. So by default, the sysfs is at /sys. So I think PCI is related to network stuff, peripheral component interconnect, and other stuff also, I guess. And so there are a lot of things. There is also proc file system. I remember /proc. Looks like that is also it tells information about processes. I'm guessing this is also a thing with virtual files. Is it? Temp file systems. Oops. Alternative way of exporting configuration. Okay. So procfs, special file system and user that presents information about processes and other system information in a hierarchical file-like structure, providing a more convenient and standardized method for dynamically accessing process data held in the kernel than traditional tracing methods or direct access to kernel memory. It is mapped to a mount point named /proc at boot time. The proc file system acts as an interface to internal data structures about running processes. In the kernel and Linux, it can also be used to obtain information about the kernel and to change certain kernel parameters at runtime. Okay, looks like is it a virtual file? Are these all virtual files? Access to dynamically configurable kernel options under proxies. Proxies appear directories representing the areas of kernel containing readable and writable virtual files. For example, a commonly referenced virtual file is because it is necessary for routing firewalls at tunnels. Okay. Yeah, IP forward. This file contains either a 1 or 0. If it is 1, the IPv4 stack forward packets not meant for the local host. If it is 0, then it does not. Okay, virtual file system. We need to check that out. There's also virtual tape. Anyways, virtual memory and all. Anyways, IP tables and stuff. Okay, so config file system. Virtual file system, you have virtual files, okay. Is this also a virtual file system? Virtual, no, file system. Anyways, it's a special file system, that's all it says. It doesn't say if it's a virtual file system. So, in Linux, first we can expand into non-process related data. The Linux implementation includes a directory for each process, including the kernel process, and directory is named proc ID. And new command, the command that originally started the process. Okay, looks like it has all the information. Exe similar to the original executable file. File descriptor, helps information. Okay, there's a lot of information about a process and about the file system, I guess. So similar, but they are in fact different and complementary. So creating, managing, and destroying kernel objects from user space. SSO for viewing and manipulating objects from user space, which are created and destroyed by the kernel space. Interesting. Complementary. So this is for creating, managing, and destroying kernel objects from user space, and this is user uh, from user space. You create, manage, or destroy kernel objects. Viewing or manipulating objects from user space, again from user space, which are created and destroyed by kernel space. Okay. Kernel config, or more rarely at /config. Who temporary file storage paradigm implemented in it is intended to appear as a bounded file system, but data stored is in alternate memory instead of persistent storage. Okay. Cool. So I will get out of this for now. Virtual files. Okay, so yeah, we need to understand the coexistence stuff and understand what does it mean when a language runtime has container awareness. So we need to look at what is container awareness. These are the questions. What is container awareness? We'll understand these, and then in between I'll ask what is container awareness when it comes to a language runtime. So I'm gonna ask this question over here, and some stuff. Improve Docker container detection and resource configuration. Okay. So okay, cgroup v2 and Java 8. I'll try to look at that. Java version upgrades, backward compatibility issues, Why? Any issues? What about? Okay, so I think the same is true for even Zookeeper. If you look at the releases, I think they have a support. Java support runtime. Okay, it's not really mentioned, but okay. And we also have Golang. We need to look at Golang container awareness. Let's see what that means over there. Respect resource limit imposed by content. So basically, this is about the runtime automatically detecting what is the resource limits imposed by containerization technologies like Docker, Containerd, and all. Concerning CPU and memory, this is a significant evolution for Go applications deployed on cloud native environments. Runtime on us automatically. So this is something we need to look at. So, but I want to understand, is it only about CPU and memory though? It has access to all resources, so linear adapts to specific resource limits defined by the container. This leads to better performance, reduced resource consumption, more hours experience for Go applications in containerized deployment. Okay. Hmm. Okay, this is a paid thing. Container aware Kubernetes blocks. Okay. C group, is it V1, V2, control group? We'll read that up too. Cool. So for now, that's all I had. That's all I had for this video. I'll see you in the next one, where I dig more into this. Bye bye.